guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Alex. I'm a first-year law student in Texas, and I'm currently finishing up my second semester of my first year here in law school. So today I thought I would talk to you guys about some internship tips and kind of what to expect. I've already interviewed for a couple of spots, and I've already secured 2 internships for this summer. I'll be doing one summer 1 and another one summer 2. So I kind of just wanted to share some tips that I've learned this year and some that I've kind of came across and, discovered on my own, just for all of you who are currently looking for summer internships. I know right now the situation may be a little bit different because of this whole pandemic that's going on. So just take these tips and kind of alter them to however you need to use them. So if you're doing an interview over the phone, some of these may be helpful. If you're still doing some in person in the future, these will of course be helpful. So just kind of take these tips and use them and apply them as you need. So these tips will work if you're applying for a firm, a judge, or any public defense. You can take these tips and use them for any internship interview that you do, or just any type of job. Even if you're not in law school, these will still apply to you because they're pretty universal tips for just any type of internship or any type of job that you apply to. So my first tip is to see if you know someone who has interned for this person or for this company and kind of get some intel from them. So if you know someone who's interned for the specific judge you're gonna apply or interview with, or if you know someone who's worked for a company that you're applying or interning with, you want to talk to them, see if they can give you some information of kind of what they did there, kind of what their interview was like, what their experience there was like. Of course, everyone's experience will be different, but you want to see other people's input as well, kind of so you can get an idea of what it's going to be like. So you definitely want to make sure that if you know someone in your school who's done internships the previous summer, you want to ask them if they've interviewed there and see what kind of information they can give you from that. Going off of that, you also want to research the person you're interviewing with. So most of the time they'll tell you who you'll be meeting with. If you're interviewing for a judicial internship, you'll want to research the judge that you will be interning with. This is very important because a lot of the time judges have certain cases that are pretty big. So sometimes they'll ask you about that. So make sure you research the person you're meeting with. If you're going to interview with a firm or somebody at a firm, you want to research the person that will be interviewing you if you know who it is. If not, you want to make sure you research the firm, see what type of law they do, some of their bigger cases if they have any. You want to just make sure you know all about the firm. If you're going to research the person who's interviewing you, you want to make sure you know where they went to school, what type of law they've practiced before they got to this firm. Is this their first firm they've worked at? Kind of just their whole history and background in the legal field, as well as the firm's background and their history. It's kind of the pre-work that you should be doing before your interview, weeks before or days before. As soon as you find out that you will be doing an interview with this person, you want to make sure you do all that before. And then as your interview gets closer, you want to prepare for your interview. So you want to make sure you have a narrative ready. And what I mean by that is, what is your story? You kind of want to think of what questions they'll be asking you, and a lot of the popular ones are going to be, tell me about yourself. So you want to have a narrative about yourself that stands out to them. You don't want to repeat what's on your resume because a lot of the time they've already looked at your resume. And in my experience, actually asked me, tell me something about yourself that's not on your resume. So you'll want to have a story that goes beyond your resume. You don't want to tell them, I'm from this school, because obviously they already know. So you want to tell them a little bit about yourself, your story, what drives you towards being an attorney or towards being in law school. Why are you here? That's pretty much what they want to know. Just a little bit more about who you are and what your goals are and stuff like that. Not necessarily where you attended school or the activities that you've been part of, because obviously those are on your resume already. So have a narrative ready and kind of do some research on some questions that either a judge or a firm will ask you. There's a ton of good questions online that I used to practice. You can find some online and kind of just come up with an answer before your interview so you're already prepared, because you don't want to be caught off guard and not have an answer for the person interviewing you, because then you will look unprepared. So just make sure you have some questions and answers ready. Just prepare for the questions that the person will be asking you. This one is not as common anymore. A couple of the times that I've interviewed, it was kind of unnecessary, but I still recommend that you do it because it shows that you're prepared. So you want to bring a printed copy of your resume. You always want to have at least 3 copies of your most updated resume on hand with you, you know, in case you ever get an interview like on the spot. So you always want to have some resumes with you. You got to make sure that it's on resume paper and not just like your regular plain white paper. That'll just show that you're prepared. It'll show that you're serious about it. If you have a scheduled interview and you're already on your way, most likely that person will have your resume printed or have already looked at it. You still want to take a copy because sometimes employers like to look at your resume as they are interviewing you. As they go down your resume, they'll ask questions about certain activities that you've done, or you know, some experience that you have. So it's good to have a printed copy with you at all times when you're, you know, going to go see a hearing in case a judge wants to interview you. So another tip that I have is to make sure you have questions prepared for the person who's interviewing you, whether it's a judge or a person at a firm. You want to make sure that you prove to them that you've done your research on the firm or on the judge, because you want to ask the type of questions that shows that you know a lot about them already. So if you're interviewing with a firm and you're interviewing with someone who has worked for previous firms before, you want to ask them, you know, why did you switch from this type of law to this type of law? Or just more in-depth questions, not necessarily do you enjoy your job, because obviously those are questions that don't really help you at all. You're just trying to get a feel about the work environment wherever you're interning for. You kind of want to get a feel about the work ethics of that firm. So you want to ask them questions like, what does it take for someone to be successful in an intern role? Or how many interns are interning at a time? And how is the work, you know, divided and assigned to each intern? Those type of questions. You don't want to go in there without any questions. So make sure you have questions prepared, just questions that show that you've done your research. So another very important tip will be to be very nice to everyone who works either with a judge or at the firm. You know, if you're going to interview with a firm, you're going to meet with like either the legal assistant or like a receptionist first before you see the person you're meeting with. So you want to make sure you're very nice to that person. If you're going to meet with a judge, you want to be very nice to his or her clerks. It's just very important that you're nice to everyone around the person you're interviewing with, because sometimes they have a very important, you know, say on whether you're a good candidate or not. Especially for judges, you know, judges work a lot with their clerk. So if you've made a bad impression with their clerk, you know, that's going to weigh really heavily on you. So just make sure you're very nice to everyone. You greet everyone politely. You tell them thank you, and you thank everyone for their time, because essentially it's kind of like a ladder. So if a judge met with you, it's because probably their clerks are the ones who scheduled that interview for you. So, you know, you want to make sure you thank everyone for their time. Obviously, if you're doing an interview over the phone, this doesn't really apply, because you'll most likely be speaking to the person directly, like they'll call you directly. But still, whenever you're in person, or if they connect you to whoever you're interviewing with over the phone, you want to make sure that you're being polite. So number 7 is to go dressed appropriately, and obviously we all know that means very like business professional. Of course, if you're doing a phone interview, this doesn't really apply unless it's like a FaceTime or a Skype interview. But if it's just over the phone, you don't need to dress up. But if it's in person or over Skype or FaceTime, you want to make sure you're dressed professional. And what I mean by professional is always wear a dark suit. You don't want to be wearing, you know, crazy colors. We're in a very traditional job field that requires you to be very, you know, standard. So you don't want to be wearing like a pink suit or like something really crazy. Not that that's crazy, that's obviously, you know, pop culture and all that, but like I said, we're in a field that requires you to be very traditional, very standard. So just, you know, your black suit. For women, you're going to be dressed in either a skirt or slacks, like slack pants, and obviously your blazer top. And then your top, your blouse will be a very neutral color. So it could either be white, you know, light blue, light pink, just very neutral. You don't want to be wearing like a pattern to like stripes or like dots or anything on your blouse. It's just going to be a solid, like either white, beige, light blue, any type of blouse like that. You want to wear that, but not anything with a pattern. And then like I said, your blazer jacket on top. So you want to make sure that you are in a full suit, preferably some type of heel, but if you can't do heels, then flats are just fine. But you want to make sure you're dressed appropriately. For women, you want to make sure you have your hair out of your face. So you want to make sure that you're well groomed, you know, your hair's done, you don't want to be wearing crazy amounts of makeup, you know, just something very standard, very neutral, and just look very presentable. So yeah, that's very important because obviously first impressions matter, and if you're not dressed appropriately for an interview, then are you going to be dressed appropriately for the remainder of the summer that you're interning with them? They don't know that. So make sure you're dressed appropriately and you make a very good first impression with how well you are dressed. My very last tip is to just take a deep breath because it's going to be okay. I know we all get worked up, our nerves get, you know, really crazy right before you're gonna go into your interview, but at the end of the day, it's going to be okay, you know. You're meeting with someone else who is also a human. They were once in that spot that you're in. So just make sure that you're prepared, and as long as you're prepared, you go well dressed, you know, you look presentable, then like everything will be okay. Maybe sit in your car, think about it for a little, and then get down and go prepared, because you don't want to show that you're nervous, you don't want to show that you're anxious, you want to show that you're confident, that you're poised, that you're ready to be interviewed, and that you're ready to take a job. So just take a deep breath and it's gonna be okay. So yeah, those are pretty much my 8 tips that I have for you. I know I kind of went through them pretty fast, but if you have any questions about any of them, or if I missed any of them, just leave them down below. This is just from my experience and from things I've learned, so it's definitely doable. You guys can do it. Everyone is doing it, you know, so like don't feel alone, don't feel scared. Reach out to your career services at your school because they'll be able to help you kind of predict what questions will be asked or what type of people that firm is looking into hiring. So your career services is a really good resource for you to reach out to. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, like I said, leave them down below. If you have any other tips for any other law students or future law students, leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe. I will be doing a lot more sit-down videos since we are in quarantine, but thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope this is really helpful for all of you, whether you're in law school or not, but thank you guys so much for watching.